Oh, hello there. Good morning. Today is the 9th of December, 2024, in the year of our Lord. This is Joy News. You're on your election headquarters. We're live on radio, on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra, on Love 99.5 FM. We're live on television, of course, on Joy Prime and Joy News. We're streaming on myjoyonline.com, on YouTube and on Facebook. We thank you for staying with our coverage of the 2024 presidential and parliamentary elections. My name is Mamavi Owusu-Aboagye.
And my name is Kojo Yankson. It's a pleasure to be with you once more on the Monday after the polls closed on Saturday at 5 p.m. It would seem that in spite of one side conceding to the other, we still are nowhere near the official announcement of who won the election. But that's not stopping us. Here on your election headquarters, we've been bringing you the results as they unfold, as they are certified at constituency level by the Electoral Commission officials. And we've got even more overnight. So if you're waking up to what you're seeing at the bottom of your screen right now, there's even more. We'll take you through the details of it, constituency by constituency. We'll tell you who are the faces behind the greening of Ghana that seems to be happening in this year's election. To help us with it, we've got a wonderful guest, haven't we, Mama?
Yes, we do. We've got Professor Savannah Benin joining us. She's the head of the Department School of Communication Studies, University of Ghana, Legon. The university went green, by the way, yesterday. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Yeah, not to be left out.
Yeah, thanks for joining us again. You've been with us throughout this coverage, and we truly appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, so a couple of things we're going to do. First of all, I know you're dying to know who won where. We won't keep that away from you for too long. We've got all the information. We'll take you through several of the regions, constituency by constituency. We'll show you who the big winners are, starting with the president's home region, the Eastern region. Now, of course, several very key races were going down in this particular region. The results for many of them are in, and we can take you through them right now. So we go straight up the mountain to get started with the Abetifi constituency. Familiar names here. Let's look at how things panned out in Abetifi in 2024. Was going up against his opponent, who happens to be Isaac Amoafo. Now, Isaac Amoafo was able to pull in some 8,338 votes for the NDC, but that was nowhere near Brian Achampon's commanding 22,287 votes, which kept the Abetifi seat quite comfortably on the NPP side of Parliament. So that's a blue one right there. Of course, Brian Achampong in this particular race came with quite some baggage, apart from the fact that, as a member of the leading party, his private business ended up a little bit intertwined with state business in an attempt to take over some SNIT property, which of course had to be put to a halt by the intervention of organized labor. That put him on the map for reasons he might not have liked. And then, of course, you can't forget Brian Achampong's rather loud contributions to the campaign trail, where he has come under criticism on several occasions for declaring quite clearly that they will not be handing over to the NDC at the end of this election. I'm sure Dr. Baumia broke his heart earlier yesterday when he conceded to John Mahama. But we can do some more. Mama V, you can take us through to Bekwai North.
All right, so let's check out Bekwai North constituency. what the results are for the parliamentary, as declared, by the way, by the Electoral Commission. So we have Ado Frimpong Kwame pulling in some 15,241 votes as against 14,508. That of Charles Yeboah Darko. That was a close contest, Kojo. 15,000, 14,000, rather very close. But this means that the constituency has gone blue.
Now, we're starting with the Eastern region, which is interesting because it's one of the few constituencies where, indeed, the NPP managed to retain its dominance. They won it quite comfortably last election, and this year they have managed to retain so many of the seats there. This is one of them. A bit close, though. You would have thought that they would have kept the gaps as wide as they did in 2020, but what we do have is Charles Yeboah Darko inching quite close to Nana Kwame Ado Frimpong on this occasion. So 14,508 to 15,241. Quite literally some 737 votes between them.
So this is a Buakwa North.
This is the Buakwa North.
This is the Buakwa North.
Yes. I think we can now go to Bekwai South. And in Bekwai South, this is how it looked. The NPP.
A Buakwa South.
A Buakwa South.
Yeah.
One day we'll get to Bekwai. But a Buakwa South is where Kingsley Ajiman ran against Nanedu Ado Akins. And I mean, the command was quite dominant. 27,011 votes to the NPP. And Nana Edu Ado Akins managed 7,454 for the NDC. So that constituency is going nowhere. It's remaining firmly on the NPP side. Upper Menya Krobor. Now, this is the first upset. Joseph Tete put in a valiant 12,443 votes, but Bismarck Tete Nyakun inched it. Well, in fact, this is not inching. This is a good 2,000 difference. 14,889 votes for the NDC. So this is a seat that has been quite comfortably annexed by the NDC. And the command was 2,000 odd votes, 2,400 votes difference. Bismarck Tete Nyakun is MP for Upper Menya Krobor. Achim Swedro, also in the Eastern region. And here the voter turnout or the voter numbers are not as commanding as other constituencies. Osei Kennedy Nyakun won it comfortably with 9,443 votes for the NPP. Taju Abdu Rahim came in with 4,788 for the NDC. That's a blue seat. Here's a green seat. Laurentia Jiwanu putting the moves on Eric Yeboah Apiedu and walking away with a very slim margin indeed. Just over 100 votes separating Laurentia of the NDC from Eric of the NPP. And this now is a green constituency, Equiapem South.
And this is one of the shocks, actually. This was really unexpected because this is a seat that had been won comfortably by Obi Amoah.
That's right.
And Eric took over. There was a bit of controversy. You remember the MC wanted to stand. And because Obi Amoah was on the ticket, he could not.
That's right.
Eventually, he pulled out. It became another issue, and the MCE was allowed to join the race, but he could not win the internal race. That's why Eric Yeboah Apiedu, who has worked with Obi Amoah for quite some time, ended up on the ballots.
Yep.
So one would ask, is this punishment from the constituents?
I mean, with 100 votes difference, you can well imagine that it didn't take. It didn't take much for the people to decide that they wanted to throw things another way. Equiapem South falls to the NDC. Lower Menya Krobor, another NDC victory. Ebenezer Oklete
Telabi. Yes, he's retained the seats. Yeah.
New glasses. Telabi has retained it, and the lead was commanding 29,048 votes to Simon Kwekutete's 15,253. So Ebenezer Telabi coming back to Parliament for the NDC. Another NDC victory in Upper Manyakrobo. Bismarck Tete Nyako polling 14,889 votes for the NDC, greening it against Joseph Tete, who managed 12,443. More green in the east. Upper West Achim is where Emmanuel Dra pulled in a big victory over Frederick Obing Adom of the NPP. Frederick managed 15,711 votes, but Emmanuel Dra, with a respectable 22,759, takes it home for the NDC. Now here we have three contenders in the Yilo Krobo constituency. We have Ebenezer Tete Aseni, who was running for the CPP, coming in with 412 votes. But really the race was always between the NDC and the NPP. The NPP came in with 19,122 votes for Kranting Chumberima. But the NDC inched it. Nyakote Albert Tete took 25,625 votes home, taking Yilo Krobo constituency safely for the NDC. So that does it for the quick whip around the eastern region. Now let's come to one of the regions where the outcome has been most surprising. Greater Accra region. Now here, Mamabi, several issues were under consideration for the voter, and they really proved it with their thumbs. Let's start with Ablikuma Central. Now here, Jefferson Saki, who for many years was a presidential staffer, has been working towards winning that constituency. He expected to take it home, but the NDC had different plans through Abdul Latif Dan, who came in with 57.92% of the vote to Jefferson Saki's 42.08%. All right, so in numbers, Jefferson Saki polled about 32,735 votes, but Dan Abdul Latif won it with 45,066 votes for the NDC. Ablikuma Central is green. All right, now a key race was in Ablikuma South. Many players there. The UPG was represented alongside, which one is the Lantern Party? It was represented by James Lankwe Lamte, and they came in with 413 votes. Joseph Kome had 585 votes for the LPG. But again, it was down to the NDC and the NPP. The NPP's Samuel Sabalate was going up against Alfred Okuvandapoy. Samuel Late managed 12,744 votes. Okuvandapoy swept the board with 35,512 votes, almost 3 times as much as the next person in the contention. Ablikuma South, NDC. Now this was heartbreak night for Ursula Owusu Ekufo, such a prominent member of parliament, such a vocal member of parliament, minister for 2 terms for communication. Ursula Owusu Ekufo came in with 45.47% of the votes in Ablikuma West. That made up some 26,575 votes. But the new member of parliament for Ablikuma West is Richard Jatei Abe. Do you know him?
No, I don't.
You will soon. He won 54%, 54.53% of the vote. 31,866 thumbs were placed next to his photo, and he successfully took it home for the NDC for Ablikuma West. All right, now Adenta was a big race.
Yes.
A big race. 2 ladies versus 2 gentlemen. Hega Asiedu was in it for, oh goodness, which party's logo is that? Yes, one day I'll buy new glasses and I'll be able to read from this distance. But she managed 146 votes for her party. Razak Al-Hassan came in for CPP with 235 votes in Adenta. The race was always going to be between Kosia Menu, Kozimenu, and Mohammed Ramadan, who, of course, is the NDC member for Adenta. He also happens to be the brother of Samira Baumia. So it's a very eclectic family there when it comes to politics at the dinner table. You can imagine quite a heavy debate. So Mohammed Ramadan won it in Adenta with a very commanding 56,303 votes. It's a huge constituency, Adenta, because Akusia Meni, who came in second, managed 35,143 votes for the NPP. A valiant effort. There are many praising her for the actual physical presence on the ground during this campaign, but it clearly was not enough to unseat Mohammed Ramadan, the incumbent, who takes it back for Adenta. Now, Kole Clotte. Everybody expected a brawl in Kole Clotte. Valentino Norte was really squaring up against Zaneto Ajiman Rawlings, whose political pedigree has certainly been an asset in her career so far. Well, it was an asset this year too. 39,997 votes came her way, helping her take Kole Clotte for the NDC. And Valentino's valiance only managed 23,716 votes for the NPP.
He couldn't take it when he went independent, and he surely hasn't been able to do it back on the NPP's ticket.
Whether you walk alone or you ride an elephant, you just can't beat Zaneto in Kole Clotte. Certainly not in 2024. Now, Medina. Now, this has always been an NDC stronghold, and the numbers don't lie. Once again, Francis Xavier Kojo Sosu, who is in fact a very, very colorful member of parliament. His rise to parliament, a couple of elections ago, has been quite significant, and he has kept the momentum this year. The NPP's candidate, Robert Lamte, managed some 29,777 votes, more than enough to win in many constituencies. But unfortunately, it was nowhere near Francis Xavier Sosu's sweeping of the board with 56,008 votes for the NDC. Medina stays green. Odio. Now, if you've been watching social media, you realize that it's one of the constituencies that people characterize with political commentary. They expect to hear anchors on stations like this saying Odio several times a day during the coverage of any election. And I won't let you down this morning. So the NDC won Odio, and they won it commandingly. The NPP came in with 24,877 votes for Abdul Manaf Soa. That's about 39.4% of the ballots cast. The PPP and the CPP were also represented on the ballot. Alfred Abe for the PPP, who managed 0.3%. Okay, so that's about a third of 1%. And the CPP's candidate, Richard Jate Abe, got even less, 0.27%, 175 votes for him. The PPP managed 193. But Alfred Ashi took it home for the NDC with 60.38% of the vote, 38,473 thumbs against his name. Sege Eunice Lassie was in the Sege race, and she managed 5,827 votes, respectable, because the NPP's Numekevo Doji pulled in 7,313 votes, which means, again, another constituency in the Greater Accra region went comfortably. Actually, Sege is what we're talking about. Went comfortably to Daniel Keshi Bessie. with 18,718 votes for the NDC. My oh my. Shayo Sudoku, another interesting battleground with 4 names on the ballot. And Gifty Hawa Hammond managed 3.03%, 1,285 votes. And we also had Angmote Min Made bringing in some 0.45% for the PPP, 189 votes. Again, the fight was between the NPP and the NDC. And the NDC routed the NPP. Benjamin Naget managed 28% of the vote, which came up to 11,950 votes. But Linda Aquile Oklu, my goodness, 28,944 votes, 68% of the ballot went for the NDC. So far, I don't think we've encountered a single constituency in the Greater Accra region that has gone to the NPP, have we?
Now that you mention it, no.
No, not a one yet. Tema West, more drama. James Enu picked it up for the NDC with 49,225 votes. Dennis Amfosefa made an effort for the NPP, and it won him 27,618 votes. But it didn't win him the seat. Tema West is green. Now, there are more constituencies in the Greater Accra region, but we will come back to them because the results are not yet certified. But Mamavi, do you fancy a move up north?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Tamale North, good place to start. Al Hassan Suhini bagged it for the NDC. No surprises there. Another commanding lead, 28,521 votes to Abdul Rahman Alidu's 12,317 for the NPP. There was another candidate who bagged 315 votes, and that was Hudu Auzia. Bimbilla is where 4 names came up on the ballot for consideration, and the NPP managed to keep it. Dominic Nitiwo, Minister for Defense, defending his seat there, 34,553 votes. Next in line was Joseph Roxon, who managed 29,240 votes. Ataswale came in third for the PPP with 2,387 votes. And 750 of the votes cast went to Camille Bamanpong, who came in fourth. Gushegu is where we're taking you next. Hassan Tampuli has been holding on to that one for one term, and he's taken it again for another term. But look at the difference there. Less than, actually, it's just over 1,000 votes. Just over 1,000 votes difference between Muhammad Yusuf Malimali of the NDC and Al Hassan Tampuli. He managed 30,490 to 29,225 that went to the NDC. So that was a hard-fought battle. But Hassan Tampuli, by the skin of his teeth, stays in Parliament. Okay, Karaga. Now, this was always an interesting one. The current finance minister, Mohammed Amin Adam, was going up against Al Hassan Swalihu Dandawa. I hope I've said that last name right, Dandawa. Now, again, the numbers were quite close. 22,428 went to the NDC, 28,185 to the NPP. So you're noting a pattern, right? Where the NPP wins, the margins are small.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was Karagat. It stays blue. Now, Myong is where Misbah Mahama Adams went up against Musa Abdulaziz Ayaba. Now, these are 2 candidates who really put the gloves on for this fight. The NPP's Musa Abdulaziz Ayaba managed 18,066 votes, but Myong is green, with Musbao taking in 20,273. Nantong. Now in Nantong, Mohammed Hadi Tuferu was going up against his namesake, Mohammed Abdul Khalik, who was, of course, seeking it for the NDC. And I can tell you that the Nantong Member of Parliament for the next session will be Mohammed S. Abdul Khalik of the NDC, who managed 17,077 votes against 14,506 that were kept by the NPP. Right, we're going through the northern region. Saboba is our next stop. And here in Saboba, we had 4 names on the ballot. I'll start from the bottom. With 71 votes, Jabun J. Sampson came in 4th, which means that the NPP actually came in 3rd in this constituency. 9,170 votes going to Bimpom Bintin, and that wasn't enough to even put him in 2nd place. That went to Emmanuel Kotin, who had 9,290 votes. Now, he will have cause to celebrate, even though he didn't manage to take the seat. That went to Joseph Bukari. Joseph Bukari took it with 14,178 votes, a massive, massive margin between him and the rest of the board. NDC keeps Saboba. All right, well, let's talk about Sagnarigu. And Ataisa was running this one for the NDC against the NPP's Felicia Tete. 3 guesses as to how that went. 15,338 votes for Felicia Tete of the NPP. But look at this. 44,530 voters decided that they wanted the NDC to represent them in Parliament. So Sagnarigu stays green. Now look at this. Sanguli, Tatale Sanguli. I always wonder whether I should say the Sanguli before the Tatale, but yeah, Tatale Sanguli is where the next battle went down. Again, a commanding victory for the NDC. Williams Ntebe went against Thomas Mboma. And Thomas Mbomba managed 15,590 votes for the NPP, but Mr. Ntebe decided that he's coming back in style, 28,521 votes for his NDC. Tolong is where Habib Idrisu was dueling Osman Tahidu Damba. Now, it stays blue because Habib Idrisu managed 30,893 votes for his NPP, and the NDC came in with 24,772. All right. Now, you know what? I think we're going to do the Savannah region. Mamabi, do you want to take this one?
In the Savannah, I would have loved that you continued, by the way.
All right. Well, if you say so. We're starting, for the Savannah region, we're starting in Daboya, Mankarigu. We have the results for this particular constituency, and it was close. It was so close. Less than 200 votes separated Mahama Shaibu from Samuel Yeyu Tika. Now, Samuel Tika was obviously going for the NPP, but the NDC inched it with literally less than 200 votes. 12,739 to the NDC's Mahama Shaibu, beating the NPP Samuel Tika, who came in with 12,596. All right, Salaga South in the Savannah region had 4 names on the ballot this year. And Jeffrey Razak had 258 votes. Abraham Bajim had 987 votes. The winner was the NDC's Ibrahima Zuwera Ibrahima, who took it for the NDC. Salifu Brahima, I wonder if they are related. Actually, no, one is Ibrahima and the other is Brahima. Salifu Brahima got 20,164 votes for the NPP. Okay, that's what we have for the Savannah region. Let's go to the Upper East region. Now, I think here we're going to see a few more blues. Let's see how the Upper East unfolded. And the first constituency we're looking at is not blue. It's Bolgatanga East. Dominic Aine keeps it for the NDC with 12,002 votes. The closest contender to him was the NPP's Silas Amwa, who had 7,415 votes. But there was also the LPG in the race, I believe, and their contender, Edwin Atia, had 61 votes. All right, Busa North, NDC, 13,344 votes to James Agalga, who keeps it. Actually, that means James Agalga is back, doesn't it?
He retains the seat.
He retains the seat. Good. So Thomas Alonsi came second with 10,157 votes for the NPP, and the PNC managed 146 votes through Ransford Asok. All right, Busa South. Clement Apak comes back. It's a rather small constituency, small numbers, but Clement Apak managed to take the lion's share with 8,974 votes. The NPP came in second through Daniel Kwame Garba, who managed 5,061 votes. The PNC got 1,639 votes through Seidu Akanzeboka. Pusiga. Now, Pusiga was won by a lady, Ladi Ayamba, who beat the NPP's Abdul Wahab Hanan, who came in with 15,798 votes. There was a third name on the ballot, Simon Paul Anaba, who got 338 votes. But this one stays green. Ladi Ayamba keeps it with 19,557 votes. Okay, we'll now jump across to the other side of the top of Ghana's map, to the Upper West region. And here, once again, we're starting off with an NDC win for Titus Beo. Titus Beo making his first attempt at the parliamentary seat.
A former General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association.
He is, yes. And he managed it quite convincingly with 13,551 votes for the NDC. The next in line was Bright Bache Yelviel Baligi.
The incumbents.
Forgive me, Mr. Baligi, if I have tortured your middle names there. But as the incumbent, he did come a distant second with 6,079 votes. Mohammed Imuran was in it as well for the LPG, and Mohammed took it.
But that's a real beating right there.
138.
Yeah.
Yeah. First timer, Titus Beo thrashes the incumbent with more than twice his votes. So Lambusier really changed their minds, didn't they?
Yeah.
Like
It's gone green.
In no uncertain terms. Okay, then, let's get on with it. Laura is where we go next, and Laura is interesting. Okay, the NDC wins Laura. Bede Anwata Zumbo Zideng is the winner there, and he takes it with 12,000.
How did you call him?
Bid Zideng. You see that middle name there?
I'm super confused.
Hey, wahala. So that's Bid Zideng.
Yes.
This picture doesn't look like it.
Remember, Anthony Cabo was a one-term MP
That's right.
in the same
And then
constituency.
Bid took over.
Yeah.
Yes. So, but I've got to tell you, that's a very interesting picture of him. I know him. He doesn't look like that. Bid Zideng there taking it with 12,116 votes. The NPP's Jacob Derry grabbed 7,351 votes. And there was another candidate, Joseph Dabo, who had 1,131. Bid Zideng. Mr. Bidi. All right, then. Sisala East is where we're going next. And Mohammed Issa Battaglia took it for the NDC. His competition was Issa Haku Chinia, who had 10,789 votes for the NPP. But with 21,621, there was no doubt that Sisala East was going green. Now, Sisala West, another green constituency. And you see the north is staying green so far. 12,937 votes for the NPP's Salifu Baluye. And there was a PNC candidate who got 202 votes, and that was Yusuf Shaibu. But Muhammad Adams Suparu takes it for the NDC with 17,436. Wa Central, a big one there. Now, here, what a battle. What a battle. 4 names on the ballot. Rashid Said came in with 132 votes. Yakubu Zakaria had 249 votes for the CPP. But just look at this. Just look at this. Rashid Pelpo and Humu Awudu battled to the end. And Humu Awudu for the NPP managed 30,724 votes.
Not bad at all.
Not bad at all. That is respectable for Wa Central. But Rashid Pelpo meant business. 38,579 votes came his way, and with a good almost 8,000 votes, Rashid Pelpo takes Wa Central. Wa East is another one. Quite a simple victory here for the NDC. Mahama Ira went in for the NPP and came out with 11,816 votes. But at the end of it all, Godfrey Jassau took it for the NDC with 20,402. This is your election headquarters. We're walking you through the winners and losers across the constituencies for the number of results that we have been able to confirm here, of course, thanks to the returning officers in the constituencies certifying these results.
218 out of 276 so far.
Yes, that's what we have. That's what we have. And we're walking you through a bunch of them, okay? So in Wa West, Peter Lanchenitubu, former police officer, went hard against his 2 contenders. The PNC's Francis Mwina Bayong managed 728 votes. The NPP's James Pirfate, I hope I've said that right, managed 10,162 votes. All very respectable, but blown out of the water by Lanchenitubu's 25,498 votes for the NDC. All right, now that's a lot. I mean, that's a lot of results there that we've managed to make our way through. Voice is going hoarse here. So let's talk about how some of these regions are looking. And by the way, it was an annihilation of the NPP by all measures across the regions that we've examined so far. Prof.
Well, a few lessons stuck up to me as you were going through the results. I noted how often you reminded us that essentially it was between NDC and NPP. So it's still the point that Ghanaians still think in blue and green, you know, irrespective of circumstance. Generally, we seem to think in blue versus green. Do we need a third force? Maybe the time has come. But yes, it would seem that the NDC has given the MPP quite a thrashing. I mean, it's as if you've been put on the floor and played around with. And perhaps a reminder that Ghanaians watch, even though we only can exercise our part of the mandate once every 4 years, they watch, they listen, and the politicians better start listening right from day one. Because while we may not be able to exercise our mandates in between, 4 years would come and we will say what we think about how you've been behaving. Time and again, I recall that there were instances where Ghanaians were clamoring for certain actions to be taken, certain changes to be seen. And I tell people that the optics matter. Even in law, they say that justice must be done, but it must be seen to be being done. The optics really matter. When people are clamoring for something, even if you have an opposing view, the body language, the way in which you present your positioning towards the issue can tell the people whether you're taking them for granted or that you're being responsive to their needs. And it would seem to me that Ghanaians were biding their time and waiting for 4 years so that they go to the ballot and exercise their view on how perhaps the last government has behaved. For good and for bad. I mean, this sweeping victory for the NDC, it makes a good statement for them, but it has its downsides also that perhaps we may want to begin introspecting about the implications for our very politics, you know, the politics that we're doing in this country. Not too long ago, just 8 years ago, Ghanaians were at the same point with the NDC, with John Mahama. Ghanaians have questions about how they had governed the country, and 8 years later, we've gone full circle and come here, perhaps because there isn't much of an alternative, you know. But the Ghanaians, the politicians better sit down and listen and start watching and start paying attention and start being overtly responsive to the things that people clamor for.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it may not be a two-horse race next time, is basically what these numbers are looking like, particularly if you are to tell the story of the voter turnout. Right? And I don't know what you've been observing throughout the time, Mavi, but I mean, we're being told that some 6 million odd names on the voters register didn't even bother to vote.
So I think the whole conclusion is people were protesting in one way or the other. So either they went there to vote to show, or they did not. But 4 years has only become, as in election day, has only become like the tool for accountability. So you either want to go there and punish them and say, you didn't listen when we tried to speak to you, and so this is how I'm voting. Or I'm not voting at all. This is also to tell you to listen to me. So whichever way. And I guess this is the language that the politician understands. Unfortunately, it takes such a long time, 4 years. So you'd have to contain the government for 4 years before they listen. And I think we've got to change this. I don't know how they can, through this experience, perhaps, because we had members of parliament from within the same government even rise up to say that, listen, things are hard on the ground and you have to make some changes. But nobody listened.
Indeed. Indeed.
That's so true.
Yeah, well, tone deafness certainly doesn't win elections, and that is what the numbers are teaching us. But there's a lot more for us to discuss. There are a lot more results for us to go through.
Yes, there are some big wigs who are not returning to Parliament.
I know, right? And I'm sure that the newspapers have captured a bunch of them this morning as they come back to print. In fact, one of the biggest surprises for me is the secondary constituency, where Andrew Ejapa Mercer is, reported not to have carried the day. And I know that which newspaper is this? The Daily
Graphic.
That's the Daily Graphic, the center spread.
Yes.
I mean, Ejapa Mercer, secondary. I mean, in the Fourth Republic, the NPP has never lost secondary. But this year, it's not theirs. And there is something fundamental about this sort of seismic movement, this, earthquake movement, and the way it has, traversed several other constituencies. I mean, I can tell you Ambrose Derry is out.
Former Interior Minister.
Yep.
And then the Interior Minister, Henry Quartey.
Henry Quartey is out.
The Minister for Communications is also out.
Yep. Ursula Osei-Kufu. Katie Hammond is gone. Katie Hammond is gone. Yeah. John Peter Amewu didn't make it in Hohoe.
Which means that the only seats, the blue seat has gone green.
I know. So that's it. The NPP has lost its hold in the voter region. There is no NPP constituency in the voter region. Of course, there were some other big losers like Lydia Al-Hassan in Ayawaso West Wuogon, another constituency that had kind of painted itself blue, quite permanently so over the past few elections. But it was not to be. John Dumelo taking that one quite decisively. And the Apia Kubi, of course, didn't make it. Dakwa Newman is out. Nana Iya is gone.
Yes, and guess who eliminated her? Kwame Asari-Obeng, a.k.a. A+.
That's right.
Who went independence.
Okay. So now, one of the big casualties that I think we should perhaps spare a minute to discuss is Hawa Kumsin. Mavis Hawa Kumsin. Ewutu Senya East. Now, I don't know how such a strong woman has been humbled in the way that she has in this key central region constituency. Of course, this is the constituency in which several events occurred, including the drawing of weapons and all of this. Yeah. But somehow, none of the boisterousness was enough to keep Hawa Kumsin in office. She's gone. I wonder what it means by way of legacy for the NPP, right? Ewutu Senya East falling the way it has. But anyway, we'll
the
make
thing
time.
is, a female replaced her.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah. Because one of the things that we'll be talking about, the number of female candidates that have
lost.
Yes.
So those that we've lost and those that are coming in.
Yeah.
Because already we don't have enough.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, Paul Chumberima fell, John Kobina fell, Umar Farouk Aliyu Mahama also lost, as well as Ophelia Mensah and Nelson Chireme. Prince Ama had high hopes, didn't he? But it wasn't to be. He's gone. And yeah, that settles it. Laurentia Jiwonu, of course, has taken over Ekuapim South. We talked about that earlier, beating Eric Yabua, who was hoping to take it over from his brother Obi Amwa.
Yeah.
But it wasn't to be.
And then last night, you were on air. The issue about Kwabinya came up rather very strongly. There were some delays in the collation and some allegations by Michael Quay Jr., who is a candidate for the NPP. Well, you're waking up this morning to the news that he couldn't make it. He couldn't replace Adjo Asafo. The good thing for me is the fact that there's one female going out and another female coming in. So we have a new entrance for Stina Elikplim Akurugu. He's defeated Mike Okwei Jr. for the Dom Kwabinya constituency. That's a big one. That's a big flip.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Let me read a text message for you. This came in from Nisaki. He says, a look at the political map of Ghana and you think you're looking at Ebunu and Buntumu. The NPP is no longer a minority caucus. It's a tiny caucus. At this point, give Mr. Markin a kitchen stool to sit outside. Sepr is how he signs off.
So they don't even get to be referred to as the majority group.
No. They don't get referred to unless they put their hand up. So they are now the very minor minority in Parliament from the way things are going.
I wonder how much of this has anything to do with the debacle in Parliament. I really wonder whether Ghanaians took notice of that whole majority versus minority thing.
I think it was part of the message because you don't want to be president and have either equal numbers in parliament or a minority in parliament. How are you going to rule? And I'm sure they would have gone to the people with the message that look at how parliament is now. We can't even do business properly because we don't have the numbers. So if you vote for the president, please vote for the parliamentary candidate as well so that we'll be able to do business without disturbances.
I mean, at the beginning of 2021, when we had created this last parliament as divided as it was, I had hopes. I had hopes that it was going to ensure better accountability.
I think we all did.
I thought that it was stronger for our democracy. But eventually, we even were held hostage.
They did nothing with it, is really the conclusion we are forced to draw, you know. Equal numbers, one independent making the difference, turning one side into a majority over the other. Literally that. And the NDC didn't do anything with it. I've got to tell you, in truth, even though everyone is reeling at the outcome of the presidential elections, the big shock is the parliamentary. That's the real upset, the real shock, right? So far, looking at the numbers and the fact that we still haven't even got all the constituencies in, it is a shock to any political analyst because the expectation was for the NPP to improve on their performance from 2020. There were some serious internal issues that led to the NPP losing several seats in 2020, and that's stalemate that we had hopes for, right? But the expectation was that they had solved all these internal matters. And so this time around, they were going to do better. That would have been any analyst's bet.
I think the party itself is shocked. When you talk to people within, they are very surprised because my understanding is they actually put in a lot of work in some specific constituencies just because they wanted to make the numbers and have clear majority in parliament. So whereas they were open to the idea that they could lose the presidential, they were so sure of the parliamentary because of the efforts that they thought they had put in.
Alas, it was not to be.
Is it true that some people went to buy victory cloth?
I don't know, but I imagine that they would have prepared. We probably would not see because now nobody's going to bring it out.
Ojo is doing Ajimbo.
I know,
is worried.
but you have to prepare.
I'm just asking.
You prepare for a victory speech, and then you prepare another speech just in case you lose.
Are any of the papers reporting damage to the statue in the Western region?
I haven't seen that yet.
Okay, because there were some posts running around on social media. We have not been able to independently confirm this, but there were some posts going around on social media suggesting that the statue had been damaged. But we haven't seen that come through in the dailies this morning. We will seek to independently verify this, as the day goes on. We hope it's not true because, these things cost money. We don't want to see vandalism as a result of victory. And of course, those who win are to be magnanimous, are they not?
Yeah.
All right, maybe we should spend some time going through these papers. I've got the Daily Graphic, I'll start. The front page has the big one, Mahama makes comeback. The full story is on page 3. But of course, also on the front page, Vice President Bawumia concedes defeat. Political tsunami hits parliamentarians, and we've been sharing some of the details of that story with you. And on the back page, supporters celebrate Mahama's victory at NDC headquarters. You should have seen the videos. Young people dancing their hearts out to loud music. NCCE chairperson commends peaceful voting process and urges Ghanaians to embrace electoral outcomes. And that's Kathleen Addy saying that. Violence erupts at Okaikwe Central Collation Center, and we all saw the videos of that yesterday. Shameful conduct of some people who went in there and destroyed furniture and equipment just because they didn't like the way.
I think the police should not let this go.
On video,
exactly. Get the video, study the video, identify the persons, because I truly believe that you can find somebody who is in a particular party's color, cause distraction, but they may not necessarily be members of that party. Treat them
as individual criminals.
Yeah.
Exactly. Let's deal with them. I mean, we can't just let this go because we want to either maintain peace or for political reasons. If people are caught doing the wrong thing, we have to deal with them.
Yeah.
You're done?
I'm done.
Okay, so there's a story on page 11 in the Daily Graphic. Because we talked about women, there's a question on the gender page. Have women lost out in Parliament? And the paper talks about stories by Rebecca Kweku-Duhu. She talks about the fact that women groups were hoping that we would maintain the women in Parliament and add on. But that has not been the case because we've lost quite a number of women. And makes reference to the Affirmative Action Act, which stipulates that there's at least 30% women representation in all decision-making bodies. But the fear of women groups is that the yet-to-be-formed parliament would not meet that target, as not much was done to push more women to contest in the December 7 elections. I wonder what you think, Prof.
Well, Well, Mahama's job is cut out for him. At the very least, when it comes to ministerial appointments, we're going to hope that he would respect what the affirmative action law is calling on him to do, which is to make sure that at least some 30% of those he appoints into power. As for the parliament, we can't help it. Voters have voted, and you can't force 30% on there. But certainly when it comes to appointments for ministerial positions, boards, etc., there is opportunity to fulfill what the affirmative action law is asking for. It is important that we have women in the corridors of power, in the places where decisions are made. And from what we're seeing of our next parliament, they are not going to be that visible. Even the lower numbers we had in the last parliament, we're not even going to be able to get that. And that's not very, very comforting. So I guess that incoming President Mahama has a job cut out for him in terms of what to do with his appointment, especially also now that his vice president is a woman. So he gets to use his appointments to validate what he sought to show us when he appointed Prof. Nana Jane as his vice presidential candidate. If he's that interested in putting women at the table, well, opportunity is here now.
Right.